If you don't understand this one simple principle, chances are you'll never get rid of your pain. And if you go about it the wrong way, whether you're listening to a medical professional or not, you can end up with more problems than when you started. Hi, my name is Seth. And over the years, I've been in over a dozen car accidents. My injuries were so severe, I was in a disabled state. And I had so much pain, I could never find a single moment without any relief. I couldn't sleep night after night. And after seeing doctor after specialist, they gave me no answers. And I was actually in a worse position and a worse amount of pain than when I even began. And they even told me that I would never be able to live another day of my life without pain. I would never be able to do the things I enjoyed doing, being physically active or working out, because of the condition that I was in. However, if I had listened to them and gave up hope, then I would not be able to have pain free like I do today. And I'm here to tell you that I feel better than when I did when I was half my age. And in this video, I'm going to show you why most approaches fail and how to actually find the right way to escape your pain for good. The first thing you have to understand is what pain actually is. Most people think of pain as a negative thing. However, it's just a way of your body communicating to you. Of course, it hurts, it's discomforting, and you don't like it. But just like when you put your hand over the fire of a scorching flame, you're gonna move your hand away, because if it didn't feel so bad, you might just keep it there and it would damage your skin. So I named this before in another video of mine as the smoke screen principle. Pain is the signal, not the source. So what happens if you try to ignore it or silence it? Well, just like my son, who is a toddler, tries to get my attention while I'm working, if I don't give him my attention right away, he'll get louder and louder until I cannot ignore him anymore. Your body is the same way and will also turn up the volume of your pain. This happened to me after all the car accidents and everything I went through. My nervous system turned up the volume so much that even my smartwatch vibrating on my wrist would send shooting pain throughout my entire body. My nervous system was hypersensitive. And while most people might never get to this extreme for their pain like mine was, many people experience it on a much smaller scale and don't even realize it. And here's the thing, pain isn't always clear in what it's communicating to you. Just like a toddler who may not have the words to communicate to you to tell you exactly what's wrong, your body is the same way. It might be feeling pain in one area, but that might not be the source of the problem. So if your body is not telling you exactly where the problem is, then it's your job to figure this out. However, people go about it the wrong way, and that's what keeps them stuck. So here's what most people do. If they feel pain in an area, they'll do everything they can to relieve it. They may try to massage it out, they might try to heat it or ice it, or if it's so severe, they might get a cortisone shot in it. However, that may work for a day, but sooner or later that pain comes right back, because if the source of the pain is the fire and the pain itself is the smoke, it's like throwing a bucket of water on the smoke. It might clear out a little bit, but because the fire is still burning, that smoke, that pain will come right back. It's a lot like if your car has a check engine light that comes on, there is a problem going on that you have to address. But many times, people or medical professionals, they will chase the symptom and not the actual problem. They will remove that light that turns off the check engine light. However, that doesn't mean the problem has gone away. So this is what the problem was with my body, and why after seeing so many doctors after years and years, the problem was actually worse than I began with, because the symptoms were being addressed. However, the problem was not. So the problem was getting worse and worse because that fire was still burning somewhere else. The day everything started to turn around for me and change was the day I stopped trying to turn off the pain that I was experiencing and start actually listening what my pain was trying to tell me and trace that smoke back to the fire. And only when I found the fire, I was able to dress it and turn it off. And then naturally, the pain, the smoke would easily disappear. So, how do you find the source of the fire? Well, it's almost always upstream or downstream from where you're experiencing the pain. If you think about a river that is drying up, and if you trace it upstream, then you end up finding a beaver dam that is blocking all the flow of the water. And that is the problem of why the river has dried up. So this actually happened to me the other day. My shoulder and my neck started to really tighten up and I started to experience a lot of pain. However, the day before I was doing a workout and I increased the intensity trying to do too much too quickly. And that was the cause of why this happened. However, it wasn't actually my neck or my shoulder that was the problem. It was actually my glute medius that was all wound up and extremely tight. It started to lock down on me because of the intensity that I was doing. So what I did was I took a massage ball and I rolled out that area. And immediately after I released that tension, all of a sudden the pain in my neck and my shoulder completely went away. Because when I found the source, it was ended up being downstream from where the pain was, and I put out that fire, boom, the pain went away along with the smoke. The simplest way to find the source of your pain is to either look one or two joints from upstream or downstream from where you're experiencing the pain. And more times than not, that's exactly where the problem is. And it might be locked up, it might need to be strengthened in some type of manner, which I have many videos speaking about, or it might be that there are more problems going on than you even realize because over time, your body has become like a pretzel, all knotted up in certain areas, many different compensations trying to take over and trying to manage that problem that hasn't been addressed for so long. And so many things can get out of balance. And it takes a little bit of understanding of your daily life as well. Almost no medical professionals actually take the time to think about what you do on a daily basis, but it's so important because your body becomes what it repeatedly does, better or for worse. And so this is under the law of adaptation. And I'll link another video below speaking directly about this so you can understand. And when you get good at this, you can stop guessing. When you're experiencing pain, you can immediately understand what your body is trying to communicate to you and pinpoint the issue. It's the difference between hearing your toddler speak to you and somebody else's. If somebody else's toddler is speaking to you, they cannot speak words clearly, so you cannot understand them. However, when your toddler is speaking to you, even though they too cannot speak words very clearly and communicate to you very well, you are so good at knowing them that you hear it so clearly and you forget how bad their language actually is until they're saying the same thing to somebody else and they have no clue what they're even saying. Once you find the source of your pain, the fire, it's only half the battle. Because if you've been in chronic pain for months or even years, many times your nervous system has cranked up the volume on your pain, has turned up the alarm so loud that it doesn't go away right away. And this was a problem with my nervous system. And almost nobody actually tells you how to turn it down. So that's what I want to do with you next. First, you have to understand trauma. If somebody almost drowned, they have a great fear of water. They may not even be able to stand in water up to the waist because of their dramatic experience. So in order for them to actually learn how to swim, they will have to first feel safe in the water that that's not going to happen again. So in the same way, when I was in so many different car accidents and trying to push through my pain or ignore it and go about my life and the way I was doing, my alarm got turned up so loud because my body did not feel safe. So any type of mobility or addressing the specific areas and trying to strengthen them, all these different things had a negative effect because I didn't first teach my body that it was safe to move in these areas. Only after teaching my nervous system it was safe was I able to actually progress in my mobility and strengthening these areas. So I made a completely other video on this going in detail if you need help in this area. However, basically I treat it like red light, green light. If you are locking yourself down the next day, your nervous system, you're tighter, you're in pain, any negative effects from what you did the day before, then you want to lighten it up a lot. Sometimes it might not even feel like you're doing anything because you're not actually teaching the body to be strengthened because you're in a different stage. You're in the tolerance phase where you're building up your tolerance, you're teaching the nervous system it's safe. And only when you don't have negative effects, either 24 hours all the way up to 72 hours later, will you be able to crank up the intensity. And if you are getting the green light, then you can crank up the intensity. If you get a red light, then you have to lower the intensity or the volume of what you are doing. And then only after you pass the tolerance phase can you actually begin to push further in your mobility or begin to get greater strength in the targeted areas that you need to strengthen. So do this, find the fire, put it out, and turn off the alarm. I was told that I would never be able to experience another day without pain. And I doubted if I would ever be able to play with my kids because of the state that I was in. However, if I had listened to medical professionals, then I would still be in that same state in a miserable life. So don't let that be you. Most people think pain is the enemy. It's not, it's trying to save you. But most people spend years shooting the messengers, and that is why they're stuck. And by the way, those who have been in pain for a long time, I mentioned before that over time your body begins to compensate and gets all out of balance, and you might have so many knots like a pretzel and so many sources of your pain over time. So the way to go about finding that can be a little bit of a challenge. And that's why I created something that helped you, that would have helped me years ago. It's called the Iron Body Assessment. It's a free assessment that will walk you through a short test to help you identify your limiting factors and your weak links in order to address them so you can start escaping your pain.